MMAT retesting that impulsive low from Friday's capitulation event. Let's go ahead and find out what could happen in price action for the coming session. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with an MMAT, technicals, raw price action, and statistical thread of analysis. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. So we are looking at MMAT in the 8-hour chart here, and this is the capitulation event that we were looking at from Friday's happenings. Okay, so now this candle here was actually a print from today, an 8-hour print from today, and as you can see, it actually came down to test right at that penny of a low of $1.24, which is very much in confluence to the bottom of the capitulation candle that we faced on Friday. So in actually making this move to the upside from the following candle, which usually could be the validation candle for a continuation to the upside after an inverted hammer print like this at the bottom of a trend, it actually since failed and lost a lot of from which what it gained. Okay, so what could this possibly mean? We are looking at the volume profile here actually make a little bit of a higher high here, so it looks like some buy pressure is still in play right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and just validate what we're looking at first though. Okay, so let's break this down. We actually capitulated all the way down to the SMA 200 in the 4-hour chart, the SMA 200 being located at that $1.24 area. We are still testing that SMA 200 as a valid form of support before continuing on to the upside. Okay, so now the 4-hour print that we got right at the end of the day in the after hour session is very bearish. Okay, so in this case, we are looking at a candle that has just retraced and has not gained anything back from which it has lost. Okay, so this can present a continuation to the downside, and as you can see here, the rejection from this massive candle was actually due to the 10-day simple moving average. We actually used it as a very confluent area of resistance here, so a valid area of resistance. So now we are continuing to the downside, and this SMA 10 can be a very dangerous resistance zone that can actually assist us in the way down. Okay, so now let's move on to the next chart and see what we have. So this is the statistical side of the analysis, in which we were looking at a potential drawback of 39.9%, of which about 36% of it has been returned. Let's just go ahead and see how much we've returned thus far. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, 36.8% has been returned. Sorry, I just eyeballed that out of nowhere so that I can give you that 36%. So it is actually 36.08%. And it, as you can see here, the momentum oscillator is still suggesting a downside continuation. Okay, so there is the likelihood to where we can actually fulfill the statistical drawback that we had measured of volatility versus momentum profile. It looks like it's still in the cards for us to come back down and fulfill that before a continuation to the upside. That is not guaranteed. What I can see, and what has been seen for some time, is just that there could be 39.28% downside thrust. Okay, so that statistical average still hasn't been met, and we're at about the 13th day of 15.45 days from the average duration due to a back test that I actually performed throughout the entire trading history of MMAT, in particular to the daily chart. Okay, so this is actually a test done by hand. Okay, so yeah, we are looking at a potential continuation to the downside as per the momentum suggestion. Okay, so, and now that the fact that we're continuing to the upside in volatility, since volatility is actually direction neutral, and this is volatility here represented by BBWP. So the expansion phase happening this aggressively and the momentum facing downward like this can only suggest that a continuation to the downside is likely. Okay, so now let's move on to the last chart. So this is yet another few signals that I have printed for us to consider the downside even still. Okay, so these were the 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence that we actually caught just a few days ago, and we did on Thursday, actually, before the capitulation event happened. I actually warned everybody in the Discord and warned so I warned everybody there late at night that a capitulation event could be on its way, and these drives actually fulfilled that downside nicely. So now we are looking at 3 brand new drives of regular bearish divergence. In this case, these are drives of these are regular drives of phantom bearish divergence. Okay, so phantom because it's going through this price action here, from point A to point B. We need to be able to go through price action, so that creates a phantom drive. And regular divergence is this, to when the price action is making higher highs and the indicator or momentum is making a series of higher lows. So in this case, we are getting that higher low structure and the higher high structure of price action, and it looks like it's already in play with the confirmation of this 12-hour candle right over here. So that's that small pivot right down there. So now, so now I definitely see some downside continuation per this divergence. So divergence is usually the opposition of price action versus momentum, and momentum in this case represented by RSI, the relative strength index. Okay, so now let's go ahead and open up a multi-pane, and it'll be the last part of the analysis. Okay, so for actually, let's open up a 30-minute here. For the new viewers, new listeners, you are looking at the RSI properties here. So these 4 zones are the ones that I would like you to zone in on, and these are the 4 zones located right here. They're just blown up for your convenience, okay? So let's go ahead and revert back to this and take a look at our immediate short-term time frame, which is the 30-minute. So the 30-minute immediate short-term is suggesting a continuation to the downside, and now it has made a bearish cross below the 14-day moving average, which is stock to any RSI indicator, and this purple line represents the RSI signal. So the signal line has now crossed below the moving average and is suggesting a continuation to the downside. It has also since moved outside of the shallow areas of the bear weakness percentile, which means now that the likelihood of a downside is greater. Okay, so now let's look at the buy hourly. The buy hourly is now entering the bear strength percentile. Okay, so if there is a downside continuation here, it could very likely be to test this moving average as a form of support before continuing on to the upside. So now, as I've always said before, as long as we maintain ourselves within this shallow area, potential gravitational pull back into the opposing zone is likely. Okay, so in this case, we are still in a safe place, at least for the buy hourly RSI. Now, for the 6-hour RSI, we are in a very similar situation here as the buy hourly. Okay, now the only thing here is that the moving average is certainly above us, meaning that this is a lot more bearish than the buy hourly. So the suggestion to the downside can be given a little more credit. But again, as long as we maintain within this shallow area, we can actually see a gravitational pull right back into that opposing zone. Okay, so in the daily chart, there is a slight pivot here towards the upside, but we are not in the shallow areas of the bear weakness percentile. We're definitely in the grips of the bear weakness percentile, which likely means that we can find a corrective move to the downside, similarly to what happened. Let me just get rid of a couple trend lines here so you can see the pivots from the previous iterations. So something similar to this, you can see that we have a little bit of a pivot like this. We even have a similar slope here, which could be about an 80% decline. So this little pivot to the upside could very likely be something like this, and could continue to the downside. So we do have to practice some caution here and make sure not to dive into this when it's not ready for a continuation onto the upside. I'm still slightly bearish on MMAT. I do not see any reason for this to go up just yet, other than a fundamental catalyst. So if something fundamentally pops up, then yeah, I can definitely see the downside thesis being validated almost immediately. But what I'm talking about here is particular to the playbook rules per traditional trading. Okay, nothing to do with psychology, the psychology behind a squeeze play, nothing to do with FOMO, nothing to do with any of that stuff. I'm reading to you what the chart is saying, plain and simple. The data speaks the numbers, and that's it. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good place for me to leave off the video. Forever know that I'm not a financial advisor, okay? Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment. I can't suggest for you to buy or sell any assets. I need you to do your own DD, but we'll be okay at at the end of the day. Okay, you guys. So yeah, with that said, now I'm sorry. Wow, the links in the description below are actually for you to consider joining the ARCap trading community and visiting me on Twitter. Okay, so also the TradingView application affiliate link is also located in the description below in case you want to consider making an account for TradingView software. You could actually trade like me. Okay, so with that said, now, my goodness, I wish you well. I wish you a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.